one of the ground rule I said, like, be mindful what you believe is true, it's not necessarily true to other people. So actually one of the students wrote in the paper, he or she in the student asked the question, is it a racial statement, discrimination statement, or just observation? The sentence was, the African American girls at that table, they're really loud. Is this an observation or is a discriminatory, statement? So the first ground rule I said, like, this may be an observation, but you have to be mindful. This is your own observation. So any, in class, any observation you make or comments you make, be mindful. Is this just your observation, or this is shared observation? Other people may describe them as energetic, enthusiastic. There are other words can be used to describe the whole thing. So that's the ground rule number one. And the second one, we talk about, like, be mindful of your language. So I mentioned, like, in the papers I received, some people use the F words. And I told the student they don't necessarily target me, but it's just a way for them to express strong emotions. But even that, do you really have to use that kind of words to express your strong emotion? So we talk about, it's important to be mindful of the language you use. So I think we talk about the ground rules, and then I decide, right now, I don't think we're ready for open discussion yet. So I would talk most of the time for the next 2 or 3 lectures on diversity. You guys, like, feel free to jump in. So I told them, like, don't feel obliged, you have to respond. Only when you feel totally comfortable. So that's we set up some ground rules ahead of time. And I also told them, like, anytime, because we had several classes on the topic, so I said, feel free to type out comments to me, again, anonymously. So I said, I care about your true feelings. You don't have to, I didn't collect the handwritten things because I want them to feel totally safe to share your true opinion with me. I think it's important to talk about ground rules because some students, they said explicitly, we shouldn't, unless we are able to have an open conversation, we will never be able to solve the issue. But so I feel like I have to respond to that to a certain extent to explain to them why we cannot do that. So I said, like, it's very important, I introduced some concept from research too. Like, for example, when I talk to them about, like, the cited example, a table of African American girls that are too loud. There's academic work that talk about, as a linguistic bias toward out-group members. So I introduce that kind of concept to them, and then, use a theoretical work as an introduction, and then start talking about, okay, what we should do in the class. So I think it's it's important to build some mutual understanding on how the class should be conducted before we move further, because I think some students may feel upset why you're not letting us to talk. So I feel like I have to explain to them why this is necessary, and I think also release them the anxiety that they have to stand up to speak something, because it does need courage.